Well, they're not there yet. We hope they get to the postseason with 2 games left to go. Orange and blue today, Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason.
Cecil, are you feeling nervous about the Broncos' playoff chances?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. How about you, my friend?
I would say my concern is at the low sweat stage right now.
Okay, low sweat stage. I'll take that. I like that. Right?
Part of it is you got 2 chances. You could well get the Chiefs resting their starters. Oh, by the way, even when the Chiefs were at full strength, you should have beat them back in November. You were good enough to beat them until they exposed the flaw in the place kick protection on the left side of the line. You beat them last year. I feel pretty good that they're going to get one of these 2 games. And the Bengals, they have a formidable offense, no doubt, formidable passing game in particular, but they will give you some chances. You just have to take advantage of them. There's a reason why they're 7-8. There's a reason why they're 2-5 at home this year. They're going to give you shots.
Yeah, their defense mainly. The reason that makes me nervous is like, okay, the challenges for Bo Nix and the Broncos right now, defensively, sure, going up against Joe Burrow and all those weapons, that is a challenge to be sure. Offensively, I guess the challenge, Mason, where my nervousness comes is I don't know if they can keep up. If the defense doesn't show up, and the defense has had some struggles, Riley Moss is important, but everything shouldn't fall to pieces because you don't have Riley Moss, who may be back for Saturday. We'll put a pin in that. But it's also like, well, if your defense isn't showing up, can you go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow in this offense? I'm not sure.
It's a real question. I mean, I'll just throw some comparisons at you here, and I'm going to share with you the rank of the Broncos in these defensive stats in the first 3 months of the season, and then the rank of the Broncos in December. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Here we go. All right. Yards allowed per game. Broncos were 3rd in the league in the first 3 months of the season.
Okay.
31st.
Whoa.
This month.
Whoa.
Think about that.
You got to ease me into that, man. That was like such a huge, drastic jump.
Yards per play allowed. 1st in the first 3 months of the season. 23rd this month. Yards per pass play allowed. 2nd in the league in the first 3 months. 26th this month. Passing yards per game. 9th in the league the first 3 months. 32nd dead last this month. First down rate in the pass game. 5th in the league the first 3 months, 25th in the league this month. It's not so bad on the ground, even though, of course, Jonathan Taylor diced up the Broncos, and we saw Gus Edwards have that explosive run late because, you know, in rushing yards per game, they've gone from 6th to 18th. Yards per carry, they've gone from 4th to 10th. First down rate, they've gone from 3rd to 5th. So they're holding their own there. However, one thing that is notable in terms of what they're doing poorly on the ground, they're giving up a lot more in the way of explosive runs. Okay. I mean, just to kind of go through that here, and I have it at denversports.com if you want to read more about it. In the first 12 weeks, the Broncos allowed a 15-yard or greater run, one every 25 carries. Since then, they have one of those explosive runs once every 10 attempts.
Ooh.
It's not good, Bob. It's not good.
No, not at all. Not at all. So what can turn around? What are the largest challenges? And for me, they showed it on the broadcast against the Chargers, and I don't know how much we've gotten to really talk about it, but they basically stopped playing man coverage. They average about 47% of the time with Riley Moss on the field. It's down below 30% off the top of my head without Riley Moss. And I'm like, okay, well, zone's not working. And it's a results-based business, and you're just going to have to trust Chris Abrams-Drain. But hasn't he earned your trust? Hasn't the secondary earned a little bit more trust where they can go a little bit more man, which was working with Riley Moss? And now the more zone coverage it's not working as well, whether it's run defense or pass defense?
I'd say, yeah, because the interesting thing, of course, is we saw a lot of zone when the Broncos played Baltimore last month.
Yep.
That was a game, remember, they played it without PJ Locke. So you have this thing going on where you tend to see the Broncos laying back a little bit more when you take somebody out of their secondary. Against Baltimore, obviously, Devin Key, even though they did play zone, Devin Key got exposed that game. We recall what happened at the end of the first half there.
Mm-hmm.
But you said it on Chris Abrams' drain. He's holding his own. He made a play on the ball last Thursday. They tested him, and he responded well.
Yep.
Even if you don't have Riley Moss on Saturday, I think you've got to go with what you do best. The other thing I would say is I want PS2 traveling with Jamar Chase.
Please.
Go back 3 years ago, and remember, that was the game against the Bengals where PS2 really started to rise in the consciousness around the NFL because of how he shut down Jamar Chase in that game. I'd start there. And it's another reason why you go man. I mean, if you're going to have one player traveling with a receiver, basically you're saying most of your looks are going to be man. Generally man looks. You'll have some zone elements depending on whether you want to go, what you want to do with your safeties in particular. But I would start with having Pat Surtain travel with Jamar Chase. Period. End of story.
Yeah, let Mike Gesicki beat you.
Yeah, like if you get beat by the others, oh well. But you have your all-pro caliber cornerback on their all-pro caliber wide receiver who's having a splendid season. He's already set a Bengals team record for receiving yardage. Anything else he puts on, that's going to be gravy. In all likelihood, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase might have the best quarterback receiver season as a duo for a team that does not finish in one of the playoff spots. That's how good they've been. I think if the Bengals had any kind of defense, we'd be talking about Joe Burrow as a league MVP candidate.
Sure.
But that's not how this works, unfortunately, for the Bengals and those two guys talking about individual awards for them. But they are capable of dicing you up. I would not leave this to chance. I would have PS2 traveling with Jamar Chase. Done.
I am not necessarily surprised Levi Wallace can't get a jersey, but how do they treat Justin Strnad after he had a Levi Wallace type game? 8 targets, 7 catches, over 100 yards receiving allowed by Justin Strnad last time out against the Chargers. I mean, is it more Drew Sanders at ILB with Cody Barton? Do they just kind of keep rolling the dice? I just said, let Mike Gesicki beat you. Well, if they're big 6'7" tight end beat you, it's likely because Cody Barton or Justin Strnad are covering him. So, like, how is Strnad treated? Is it a different situation than the way Wallace has been treated since he gave it up to Jerry Jeudy? Wallace hasn't seen the field.
Yeah, and also, speaking of, Strnad, going by the Pro Football Focus data, the last 3 games, Strnad has allowed passer ratings of 132.8, 118.8, and 118.8 when he's been targeted.
Wow. Chargers saw something, they went after it, man. Credit to them.
Yeah.
Credit to them.
You've been getting by with Strnad this year.
Sure.
But it's not just there as well. Look at the Colts game. The Colts had some explosives, had explosives on the ground when they went at Strnad as well. Like I said it after the game. I thought that this was the first game where the Broncos really missed Alex Singleton. Really missed. We're like, man, we need that dude.
Yep.
Singleton, is he the best inside linebacker? No, but you know what Singleton does really well is he minimizes damage.
Yes.
It's there's the whole thing. Oh, he makes his tackles from behind. He keeps some bad moments from getting a lot worse.
That first Gus Edwards carry, Justin Strnad didn't tackle him.
Yeah.
Singleton makes that tackle.
Alex Singleton is an obstruction, and Gus Edwards gets on the ground.
Yep.
Boom. Unfortunately, watching that game, it sort of reminded you of how Strnad got really kind of lost in the shuffle depth-wise at inside linebacker after he struggled back there in the 2021 season, which was so profound that they shifted Baron Browning inside, and they made the trade. It was the trade for Kenny Young, I believe, is the guy they brought in that year.
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. But I don't know that Drew Sanders is the answer.
Probably
I think
not.
that's a stretch. I think you're going to have to ride this one out. I've had some suggest Lavelle Bailey to me. I mean, if the start of this game looks a bit like the last game, I'd say why not? And even with Drew Sanders, if Sternad continues to struggle, you may have to ask the question, okay, is it going to be worse? By the way, another stat on Justin Sternad, according to Pro Football Focus, 6 missed tackles this month. 13 for the season, 6 missed tackles. 6 missed tackles in the last 3 games and 12 missed tackles in the last 6 games.
Wow.
He only had 1 in the season leading up to that. The missed tackles have become a real problem for Justin.
Mm-hmm. And now teams are game planning against him. So everyone's going to say, where's 40 at? And they're going to go after him. He's got to be ready and he must respond or he must get replaced.
You know what? It's sort of the same thing teams used to say about Nick Bonito, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's out there, run at him. Then he got stronger. Then he learned how to diagnose run plays better. He was stouter at the point of attack. And lo and behold, you went from a guy who was trending like he was going to be a pass rush sub-package specialist into an every down edge who should be in the Pro Bowl when they announce that here in the next few days.
And set to make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
At whatever point the Broncos choose to pay him, because good job, Nick Bonito. You're going to get paid. Justin Sternad, that's the question mark. And with all the weapons, we'll get into the Broncos ground game of like, what are the challenges for this team, for Bo Nix and the Broncos? Well, the challenge is, can you just stick with the ground game? Why was Sean Payton upset that the TV cameras zoomed in on his playbook? Like, seriously, Sean, that's kind of what they do, right?
Let's play the comment from Sean. He talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, number one, I don't like the fact that the network TV cameras feel like they can zoom into our call sheets, but it is what it is. It's just a reminder sometimes that there'll be little notes I'll put at the top of a section. Thought we ran it real well early in the game, first half. Second half, there's 2 series I kind of kicked myself where, even when we did run it, it was the type of run we ran that wasn't as effective. But we had ample opportunities in that second half. And I thought our third down numbers obviously weren't where we wanted them to be. We couldn't get off the field defensively, and therefore we weren't able to keep the lead we had going in at halftime or coming out to start the second half.
Okay, Sean. And he does point the finger at himself again. He's never shy about that.
Yeah, for all the people who say he doesn't, he's not taking the blame. No, he does that all the time. He says it's on him.
Yeah.
He understands the responsibility of the head coach. I don't get I think maybe it goes back to the stuff that he was saying about Russell Wilson and all that, but and even about Nathaniel Hackett and how Wilson was coached going back to camp in 2023. But he always comes back to putting it on himself that the buck stops with him as the head coach. It's sort of like we talk about with, Marvin Mims Jr. last year and him saying, I'm not using him enough. Well, ultimately that's on you, Sean. Mm-hmm. He after 2 times in recent press conferences talking about, I got to get Audric Estime the ball more. He got the ball to him 9 times last week, and Estime averaged north of 5 yards per carry. And I asked Sean yesterday, all right, has he earned more work? Yeah, he has. Okay. Start him. Keep starting him. He was first up last week. Mm-hmm. Keep that up. To me, I think you settle on, at least for the rest of this year, I think you settle on Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin as your duo once you get McLaughlin back from the quad injury. And then your third down back, your Samaje Perine back for this year is Javonte Williams. If you find out that this works, if you find out that Audric Estime works as your every down back, then you start cycling ahead to next year, and are you talking about Blake Watson becoming your third down back, because he was encouraged with Blake Watson last week as well. And oh, by the way, that little 13-yard catch and run where he's gauging Ben Powers and where he's setting up the block, that's why they liked him. That's the moment. That's what they saw on film, is their ability to see things as they're developing, anticipate where the gap is going to be after he's caught the ball, and maximize the play. I thought that was it. That moment showed why Blake Watson has a future in this league, because he knows how to read the gaps through the chaos that can sometimes happen when you've got big guys trying to block in space. He's very effective at that. He's got very good vision in that part of his game. He's
their real Joker. When he's ready, he can do more than Marvin Mims can. He may not be as fast as Mims, but he gets to top speed in a hurry.
Yeah.
He's a converted receiver.
Yep. The skills are there. Mm-hmm. And he was, and if you listen to the broadcast last week, according to Kirk Herbstreit, Sean Payton was talking up Blake Watson when he was meeting with Herbstreit and Al Michaels. So this is sort of another thing here. You have two more practice squad elevations on Blake Watson. Even if you've got Jaleel available, do you elevate Blake Watson and find a spot for him? I think you do.
Oh, yeah. I think you do as well, because he can do stuff that no one else on the backfield can do.
Yeah.
Estime can run with more power than anybody. Javonte is the best pass protector. Jaleel's great in space and what he does. Blake can do all of that. Less power, maybe less quickness than Jaleel, but speed, route running ability, hands, patience, vision. He's got it all, man. Why? There's we don't get high on everybody we see at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. May seem like it at times, but there's a reason why you and I loved the Blake Watson pick addition.
Yeah, exactly. Good value there. But of course, the overarching question is, can Audric Estime be an RB1?
Is he going to stay in the game?
You got to keep him in the game long enough to give him a shot to be the RB1. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You have to keep using him. Now, obviously, he led the Broncos in rushing attempts with 9. Javonte Williams actually led the team in touches with 11, because that includes 7 receptions as well. And then when you get to playing time, that's where, Javonte Williams again led the way. Javonte Williams played 52% of the snaps, 33 snaps in the game. Audric Estime played 13 snaps. Blake Watson played 10. So think about this for a moment. Audric Estime touched the ball on 9 of the 13 snaps he played. Okay. That's like Jaleel McLaughlin percentage. It's like Jaleel McLaughlin last year, right?
Yep.
It's about the same ratio. It's right there in that 70% range.
I won't be able to ask Joe Lombardi this week and make him mad like I did last year. I don't think he liked that question, but it was true. And then they stopped doing that.
I always say, if a couple of chuckleheads watching from a distance, like you and I can see it, how do they not see it?
And the opponents see it. Hey,
that's the thing.
In.
If we see it, your foes see it. Because there's somebody working at Paycor Stadium in the Bengals offices right now who's sitting there and saying, oh, when Audric Estime was on the field last week for 13 snaps, he got the ball 9 times. Maybe if he's seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that staffer will probably say it that way. 9 times. And Zach Taylor will furrow his brow and say, interesting. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. They got to know. They got to notice. So the challenges for this team are defensively get back on the horse, so to speak. And those numbers you have, denversports.com, everybody check it out. Challenges offensively is like, all right, just stay with running the ball, man. Stay with running the ball. It helps out Bo, helps out play action, helps out some deep shots. And honestly, I was thinking about the Marvin play that was pass interference, but also was Bo being late on the read and short on the throw. The Marvin Mims play that he hit again, and everyone went wild for 93 yards. That was on time and on target. So if you're running play action better, then Bo can just launch it. He can launch it and Marvin can go get it, not be late on it and then throw it to him. And it should have been pass interference. But if you're running the ball well, you can hit Marvin deep. We've already seen it.
It'll set things up, and goes back to the whole thing of Sean Payton talking about what supports a young quarterback best. It's run game, the defense. It takes the burden off the quarterback, but the run game, the thing that also does is it opens up opportunities for the quarterback to build his confidence in the play action game. Most quarterbacks should be very effective in play action. You remember a few years ago when Drew Locke had terrific play action numbers and everyone's like, well, oh, they should run play action more. I'm thinking to myself, but Drew Locke's play action numbers weren't extraordinary. They were just what you expect, what a quarterback should have in play action.
Right.
Like if you're not good as a quarterback in play action, something's terribly wrong. Because it's set up for you to succeed because you've gotten the defense ideally to have that split second hesitation that creates gaps in coverage.
Yep. You've influenced them.
Yeah.
You've influenced them with the run action. So we'll see if the Broncos can do just that. All right, Mace, programming note. I'll be on assignment the next couple of days. You'll be on assignment by being at Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit.
No holiday for me.
No holiday for Mace.
I will celebrate Christmas Day by being at Broncos headquarters.
So everyone send Mace your Christmas wishes. I will be back on Thursday, and then we'll get this show rocking and rolling. But to programming note, you have a plan for one of the 2 days, right?
We'll have at least one show in the next 2 days, and possibly two. Kind of depends on how things go. Really depends on just like what news breaks and all that. I've been thinking about it. I think we'll probably have a normal show or a normal Wednesday show on Tuesday, because that's going to be a football Wednesday with everything moved up with the Saturday game. So expect we'll be here chatting Broncos, chopping everything up at about 5:30 Mountain Time on Christmas Eve. The big question is whether there's a Christmas Day show, and that may really have a lot to do with how Riley Moss is faring as he works his way back, and also what we hear from the coordinators, because we'll hear from Joe Lombardi and Vance Joseph and Ben Katwika. We may end up having a show on Christmas Day on Wednesday just to talk about Vance Joseph and this defense and what he's seeing right now, because they got something to fix here. They got one of their sternest challenges of the season coming up on Saturday on the Riverfront.
Yeah, and with the Saturday game, it means our Thursday and Friday shows are just set in terms of like, we got to talk about how they're going to beat this team.
Yeah.
How can they win on the road in Cincinnati, in the jungle where you, Andrew Mason, will be? And
where the Bengals are 2-5 this year.
Very good. Very good. You want to keep that alive? You want to keep that going? How about another L at home at what's the name of the park now?
Paycor Stadium.
Paycor Stadium.
It'll always be Paul Brown Stadium to me.
And they don't even throw in a Paul Brown, like Paycor at Paul Brown Stadium?
No, but part of it was an understanding that if you're going to come up with the cash reserves that you have to put in escrow for the Joe Burrow contract, you got to create some revenue streams. And so by and large, that was the primary reason why the Bengals decided to finally do this. Because Joe Burrow isn't cheap. Jamar Chase isn't cheap as well, but they haven't gotten him done yet.
I know.
Need to get on the horse on that one.
Sponsor your parking spaces.
You gotta. If you're the Bengals, you have to figure this out, right? I mean,
you can't break them up.
Burrow and Chase might be like Rice and Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Or Montana Rice. I got them, transposed, but you know what I mean. It's that kind of combination.
Yep.
Don't screw this up if you're the Bengals. Don't screw this up. Because if you have those two, I mean, the lesson of the Bengals this year is, goodness gracious, all you need is an adequate defense. Just don't be awful on defense. Just be adequate. That's all you need. The fact that we're still sitting here talking about them having a chance at the playoffs, despite this defense just being absolutely craptastic, it's testament to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But you've got to get this defense to average, or you're going to waste the best quarterback you've ever had. Better than Ken Anderson, better than Boomer Esiason.
Yep. Better than Carson Palmer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, he's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey. To help us out on YouTube, Mace, how can folks do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss
a vid.
vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.